Hi there everyone! My name is Natalia Batista and I am a manga artist, a comic art teacher and an illustrator from Sweden. Thank you so much for following my channel! I'm so glad I got so many followers from putting up some ink videos on how to do inking with steel nibs. So I thought of why not use that and tell you a little bit more about how to do comics, since I am a comic art teacher. I would like to start out by telling you a little bit about me, but instead of doing it in a boring way, I would like to do it in a more exciting way, like telling you tips on how to get published by showing you my way. So let's start! First of all, I went to comic art school here in Malmö. Yes, there is a comic art school in Sweden, and there's actually comic art schools maybe even in your countries. So my first tip to you is educate yourself. Yes, this is very important. You don't have to go to a school to educate yourself, you could actually do it at home. YouTube has a lot of good videos on how to do comic art and how to tell stories. Remember, you're equally comic artist and story writer. At comic art school, that's where I got my first job. The assignment was to do a comic for a real publisher, but they didn't know about this comic. The idea was to do a comic for this magazine, OK magazine, which was a music magazine back in 2006-2007. Me and a classmate in school did a comic for it, and the teacher said, "This is really good, go to the publisher and ask them if they want it." So we did, and they wanted it. But my classmate, he didn't want to continue the project. So I got to do this comic, Lova, which is one of my first comics I did. This is my debut in doing professional work. And I still today got fans that come up to me and say, "I read Lova in OK magazine." This is really good. My tip number 2 is always take the assignment seriously. You never know what can come out of them. And my tip number 3, make them count. Maybe an illustration you did for art class can become your front page of your webcomic or something. Use them. After comic art school, I decided I really wanted to go to Japan and study manga there. Of course, you study manga in Japan. That's what I was thinking. I know many aspiring manga artists out there that have the same idea. So I studied Japanese for a year. Japanese is hard, and what I learned from that was I didn't have any time to do comics. And this was really sad, because I wanted to do comics, not learn languages. So instead, I started drawing again. And this is my tip number 4. Always trust your gut and your inspiration. If you don't feel like doing the comic you're working on right now, you don't have to continue just to do it. Find something else that inspires you and something that truly inspires you. So I started a comic, a webcomic called A Song for Release. You can read it over here. I also made fanzines of it, small magazines that I sold to my friends, and I went to manga conventions and sold there as well. My tip number 5 is start your fan base as soon as possible. And webcomics is actually one of the best ways to start up your fan base, because you get your fans immediately and you also get feedback from them. Webcomics and putting up stuff online is actually one of the best ways to earn money. After about a year, when I had published it online, I decided I wanted to do my own book. So my tip number 6 to you is learn by doing. I wanted to learn how to do books, so I decided to do a book. From the first idea, the first concept, to the actual product, and then selling it online and on manga conventions. This is a very good way to learn, especially if you at some point want to be published by a publisher. You get a lot of respect for publishers. There's a big but though. Even though putting up comics online is a very good way to earn money from doing comics, it's a really hard way to actually pay your bills, especially in the beginning. I got this job from the principal at the comic art school. He recommended me for the municipality in Malmö to help out doing a comic about the climate. So this is a magazine for kids about how to be more climate friendly. And this actually paid my bills. So my tip number 7 is go out and look for commissioned work to pay your bills. And tip number 8, always be interested and nice to everyone. You never know who's going to be your future commissioner. By this time, about 2008-2009, I really wanted to get into the Swedish manga industry. But I realized, for example, this book that I made wouldn't really come into that market, because this book was a boy's love story. I didn't think the Swedish market would be interested in that, since when I looked around, I saw that all the publishers thought that manga was for kids. You have to learn how the market works, which publishers does publish manga, what do they think manga is. I saw Many publishers like the kids mangas and publish the kids mangas, so why not make a kids manga? That's when I developed a project for this one. I made a pitch for the first chapter of Meow, and I got a publisher. So in 2010 we published 4 small books, and in 2013 we published the collection in a full collected book as well. To date it has sold over 10,000 copies! That's a lot, especially in Sweden, which is a really small country. My tip number 9 to you is research your market before you do anything. After that, I got the chance to illustrate this book. I actually got this job from A.S.A.P. She's working right now doing comics in Japan. She didn't have the time to do this project. She asked me if I had time, and yeah, I did, of course. Both the publisher and the author is really well known here in Sweden. That's why this book paid my later projects. My tip number 10 to you is find fruitful collaborations. We artists need to pay our bills. While I did get published in Sweden with Meow, I still wanted to go international as well. And especially since I had a song for release in English, I thought, why not send it out to publishers internationally? So that's what I did. I sent it out to publishers, especially in Germany, and I got a hook. Tokyopop in Germany, they really liked it, and I said, why not we do a one-shot with it? Since it's only one book, we could try it out. What they saw though was that I had changed my art styles. So some of the pages I actually had to redraw. In the end, I was really happy to be published by Tokyopop. It was a really learning experience. So my tip number 11 to you is look for your markets. It might not be in your region and it might not be in your country. Look outside, look international. If you have some favorite comics, check their publishers. What do they publish? Maybe you could actually do a comic for them. At the same time that I was doing all this on my own, I actually had a little team of friends that we did projects with together as well. We started out at the comic art school back in 2006, and we called ourselves Nosebleed Studio. You can find our webpage up here. We started out doing fanzines and calendars, and we had a webpage, which was a good place to put up our comics and show off our work. In 2011, we also upgraded to becoming a company and started publishing books, like this one and these ones, once per year. We did the books in English to be able to sell them online and internationally, and also to go to other conventions internationally to sell them. And we wanted to do something more unique, something more about Sweden and about our environments, not telling the stories about Japan, but telling the stories that we could tell. Last year, we also published this nice book, which is a collection of all the 3 books in one, in Swedish though. So this company and project of ours is a way to collaborate and to help out each other to be able to make books and get into the market together. So my tip number 12 is network is the key to success. Find people that like the same things as you do and do things together. During this time that we made these books, I also had the chance to have communication with Japan. I'm gonna do a video about this later on, about how I try to get into Japanese market and my experiences with that. But just shortly about this, I did go to Japan in 2010, and I did meet up with an editor at Ribbon magazine, one of the biggest shoujo magazines in Japan. I got the chance to send in all in all 3 comics to their monthly manga competitions. Both the editors and the jury got to give me a lot of feedback. My tip number 13 is learn from the best. If you have a chance to talk to professional artists, get mentorship from them, or for example have an editor, this is a very good thing. No one is born to do comics. You have to learn how to do it. So learn from the best. This leads up to the most recent project I've been doing. This project, Sword Princess Amalthea, which has been my manga for the last 5 years that I've been working on. I'll probably make a video especially about how to do this, how I made this big project. It's about a world where I flip the genders, where the queens rule and the princess is sent out to save the prince instead. I really thought this idea would exist out there, but I googled and I didn't find anything. So my tip number 14 to you is make comics that engage and inspire. This project wouldn't have been so popular if it wasn't for the fact that I tried to do something unique and new, and also something that kind of questions the norms that we have in society. And why does it always have to be guys in fantasy stories that does stuff? Remember to try to make comics that engage. And last but not least, I also am a part of the community here in Sweden, doing comics and doing manga. And I also want to give this tip to you to try to be part of the community. Like, I participate in different kind of anthologies. I also do my own anthologies, like these ones where I'm the editor, one of the editors for the anthology. Try to build the community together with other artists. Tip 15, try to be part of building up this comic community in your surrounding. All these tips are just my tips, ideas of how I do comics. Always keep doing comics. There's so many good stories out there that you can tell, that only you can tell. I really hope these videos I'm gonna upload here on my channel will be helpful for you and be a way for you to learn how to do comics and how to get yourself out there. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!